Hey you guys, it's Jason from the RC Cave. Thanks for watching. I'm coming at you today for my 1/8 scale RC track out in Unguilla, Ecuador. I've got some really cool updates about this track to tell you guys about. Wow, there's a ton of birds out here. You hear that? That's the thing about living in Ecuador, man. The birds are amazing here. Anyway, let's get to it. The first thing I want to tell you guys about is I've expanded the track. I mean, previously, I can't even talk. Previously, it was about 150 yards around, and I brought in the backhoe, I've reclaimed some space, and I've made it about 300 yards around, so I've doubled its size. And the second thing I've done, I've brought in some fill, and I'm raising up the back lane, which is the furthest lane out. It was a little bit difficult to see the car when it was out there, so I'm raising that up, and I'm also putting in some drainage. I mean, I was having some trouble with water draining off the track, so I've put in some drainage. So I'm gonna bring you guys over there, and let me show it to you. This is the way my track was laid out previously. The old track is now basically the center section of the new track, and what I've done is I brought in the backhoe and we added another lane all the way around the outside. That doubled the size of the track. I was able to add the lane on the outside, and I had to add an extra hairpin turn, but that allows me to keep it one single circuit. Now, one of the most important things to take into account if you're designing an RC track is drainage. You have to account for rain, water runoff, and how that's going to affect you. Now, I'm at the base of a mountain here, and I get a ton of water during the rainy season, and certain parts of my track were just staying muddy, and I had some standing water. It was no good. So what I've done to solve that is I've dug a drainage ditch. Let me see if you guys can see that. Over a foot deep, over a foot wide, and I've filled it with rocks. And fill it with rocks, and just the very top will be filled with dirt. That way you won't see it. It'll be completely invisible afterwards, but it should allow the water somewhere to filter off the track. It should give me some drainage. So hopefully it'll work, because it was very labor intensive. Another really important thing to take into account if you're designing an RC track is line of sight. Where are you going to sight your driver stand? I mean, in my case, this land is pretty much flat, and the advantage that a slope has is you can get a little bit of a better angle. So my furthest lane out right there from the driver's stand, you can see it, but it still becomes a little bit of a challenge to hold a line back there. So what I've got to do is I'm going to fill up this back lane here as much as I can. I've already dumped 8 or 12 cubic yards of fill, and I'm probably going to have to dump that much again in order to raise it up so you can see it a little bit better from the driver's stand. Just to give you guys an idea of how much fill I've dumped here, the level of the track is a lot higher than the natural level of the hillside, but I still need a little bit more. I'm going to fill about halfway up to the level of those tires there. The reason for the tires is that it should provide a nice non-lethal barrier, so if the cars run into them, I'm not going to break the cars. And at the same time, it gives you kind of like a visual reference. I even want to paint them white and red as a finishing touch, but it should be able to give you a nice visual reference when you're looking at that far lane out there. So I think you can see that building an RC track is just a ton of work, especially if you do it by hand. It depends on your access to machinery. I hope this gives you guys an idea of some of the things you should take into account if you're thinking of doing a similar project. I mean, if you're thinking of doing an RC track, plan before you start actually building. Take into account line of sight. How is water going to affect you? All those sorts of things that you'll have to deal with later. It's just the more you plan before you start building, the more work you're going to save in the long run. I can't wait to see how this track is going to turn out. I mean, I've already had a ton of fun with it, but with this recent project, I'm basically doubling it in size, so it should be really cool. All right, you guys, if you're not already subscribed, please be sure to subscribe, because I want to have you guys here for my next video, which will be for when the track is actually finished. So please make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'd appreciate a like before you go also. All right, see you guys next time.